Live from Nature's Fair Markets in Langley, BC, naturesfair.tv presents Lorna Vanderhaeghe. Now here's your host for the evening, Karen Markart.
And we have a couple of great incentives for you for joining us tonight. If you buy any two of the products that are featured here this evening on the end display and in vitamins and supplements, any two or more products and you will get the A to Z Women's Guide to Vibrant Health, which is one of Lorna's books. An awesome incentive tonight for getting two or more products. And of course we do have the most recent book as well for sale, which is the Smart Woman's Guide to Hormones. That's the pink book here with Lindsay. Thanks, Lindsay. And sorry about that, Jackie. All this pink makes me see a little crooked. So without further ado, I would like to ask you to help me welcome to our store here in Langley, Lorna Vanderhaeghe.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much. It was very funny when I was driving out here. I said to myself, I've done so many talks at Nature's Fair that there probably won't be anybody here tonight. And maybe we should wait a little while before I do another one. So I was pleasantly surprised that you all came out. Tonight I'm going to teach you about your hormones, and for many of you, you've already been to my hormone talk, so it'll be a refresher. And for the new people in the room, I just want to let you know that my nutritional background, so you understand where I can come to give you this information about hormones. I have a master's in nutrition, I have a second degree in biochemistry, and for the last 10 years of my life, I've dedicated all of my research to hormonal health, not just in women, but men as well. So that's what gives me the expertise to sit up in front of you and talk to you. I'm also a mother of 4 and a grandmother of 6, and that I think is my greatest accomplishments in life today. For the moms out there, they probably think the same thing. All of our hormones come from cholesterol. And although cholesterol gets a really bad rap, you have to have adequate amounts of cholesterol to make estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, all of your hormones. Cholesterol is also used in men to make their hormones as well. And one thing they learned, they finally did a study in women looking at what happens to female hormones when you take cholesterol-lowering medications. And some very scary things happen when we give women Lipitor, Mevacor, Zocor, or Crestor. So if you're a woman in the room and you're taking cholesterol-lowering drugs, you need to get off them as soon as you can, because they discovered that when women take cholesterol-lowering drugs for over a year or more, it increases their risk of breast cancer. And the reason why it increases their risk of breast cancer is because when you take those drugs, it causes your estradiol levels to go off the map. They don't know what happens to men when they take cholesterol-lowering drugs in relationship to their hormones because they haven't studied it yet, but I can almost guarantee that cholesterol-lowering drugs mess up men's hormones as well. On my website, I have a free book called Your 30-Day Heart Smart Solution. It's under the book button. You can go read it cover to cover, and it teaches you how to lower your cholesterol and your blood pressure and your triglycerides naturally. What makes the difference between the woman who hits menopause and she feels fantastic? She can't figure out why her friends are fanning and flashing and crying and forgetting their keys because she feels great. Well, the woman who feels great at menopause has great functioning adrenal glands. These are 2 little glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and they are your backup hormone system. You know, the drug companies have spent a lot of time and money teaching women that the sole source of hormones in the body is the ovaries. Does that make any sense? Somewhere around age 52, your ovaries are going to take a much-needed rest at menopause, or maybe you're one of the thousands of women who've already had a hysterectomy and had your ovaries removed. Well, this is an amazingly beautiful body. Do you really think it's going to let you live the next 50 years with no hormones? Absolutely not. So your backup hormone system is these adrenal glands. So women who have effortless menopause have great functioning adrenals. Her periods stop, her ovaries shut down, and her adrenals kick in and make her hormones for her. So if you're a younger woman in the room, you better love your adrenal glands because they're your backup hormone system.
They also help you deal with stress. If you're already in menopause, we treat your adrenals with adrenal support nutrients to get your adrenals functioning properly, because they truly are the key between having virtually no hormone symptoms at menopause and feeling fit and fabulous or really, really bad. So the adrenals are essential for hormone balance in the body. In men, when their adrenals become tired, they get erectile dysfunction, beer bellies, and breasts. So we definitely don't want our guys to have adrenal dysfunction either. The thyroid is a gland that sits wrapped around your windpipe, and it is your master conductor of all of your hormones. And we have an epidemic of low thyroid in this country today. We have 23% of the population already taking thyroid medication. Then we have another 30% of people walking around with low thyroid that have yet to be diagnosed. So we're going to talk a lot about thyroid tonight because it is the key to having healthy hormones. Your liver is the sentinel organ for hormone function. Your liver decides if your healthy estrogen is going to turn into cancer-causing estrogen. Your liver decides if your progesterone is going to become testosterone. And your liver detoxifies hormones when they get too high. If you're drinking a bit too much wine and popping too many Advils, then your liver is not going to be doing the job properly. Your gut is everything from your mouth to your butt, so if you have gas, burping, bloating, constipation, or diarrhea, you will have hormone dysfunction because your digestive tract is involved in detoxifying hormones when they get too high. Fat cells are the most dangerous hormone factories in your body. They are producing tons of estrogen. The reason why the Cancer Society tells you to get thin is because they want to reduce the amount of estradiol that's produced in your body from all those fat cells. The ovaries have been relegated to the bottom of the list because although they're very, very important if you want to have a baby, in every single woman, they're going to take a much-needed rest at menopause. The average age of menopause is 52, although some women go through menopause at 35 and others go through menopause at 65. So there's a huge range in there as to when you can go through menopause. The interesting thing, though, is your ovaries have little receptors on them for thyroid hormone. So if you develop low thyroid, you can develop all kinds of hormone problems simply because your ovaries won't be getting thyroid hormone. What is a normal period? Probably the most important thing to learn, and even if you're a 75-year-old woman in the room, I would ask you, what were your periods like when you were younger? And the reason I would ask you this is because periods tell us everything about your hormones. So when people have period problems, this is the earliest warning sign that their hormones are out of balance. And interestingly, today I was reading a study that showed that women who have heavy periods are at a much higher risk of breast cancer. That's how connected your periods are to all of your hormones. So we count the days of a menstrual cycle. The first day one, is the first day of bleeding. In the first half of the cycle, estrogen rises. And estrogen's job is to make your uterine lining nice and thick and juicy, so if an egg gets in there during ovulation, it has somewhere to live. Most women ovulate or pop out an egg between day 10 and day 15. Very important date to note if you want to have a baby, and even more important date to know if you don't want to have a baby. So probably a good thing to talk to our daughters about. And there's a very sad fact that 50% of mothers never talk to their daughters about periods or hormones or pregnancy or any of that. So we have to start fixing that one. In the second half of the cycle, progesterone rises. If you actually got pregnant, progesterone would rise 100-fold, and that is to keep you pregnant. If you didn't get pregnant, your progesterone levels will drop. This will signal the uterine lining to slough off, and you'll have another period. In some women, when their progesterone falls too far too fast, they get hormonal migraines right before their period. In those women, we simply give them bioidentical natural progesterone, and the migraines go away. What about the women with the heavy periods? And this is a very big concern for women in their 40s who are heading towards menopause. A lot of women get fibroids and polyps and a very thick uterine lining and have these terrible, heavy, flooding periods. And what's happening to you is in the first half of the cycle, estrogen rises. And unfortunately, estrogen's job is to make your uterine lining thick. So if estrogen keeps rising and rising and rising, your uterine lining gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And then when you finally do have a period, it's like the floodgates open. 2 of those kinds of heavy periods and you become anemic. Once you are anemic, you bleed more. So it becomes a vicious cycle, and one that we're going to teach you how to fix tonight very, very quickly, because it is the leading reason for hysterectomy in Canada today. We have the highest rates of hysterectomy in the world here in Canada. The number 1 reason for hysterectomy is heavy periods. Because we do so many hysterectomies, they now do pathology reports on every uterus they remove, and they discovered that 99% of them are perfectly healthy. So if you're scheduled for a hysterectomy, you might want to think twice about having it. So a normal period should show up every 21 days, every 22 days, every 30 days. It does that regularly every month. I can tell you right now, if a guy's testicles swelled up as much as our breasts do every month, you can envision that, right? They would have fixed that problem a long time ago. And all we do is keep complaining and complaining and complaining. But now you have learned that period problems are the earliest warning sign your hormones are out of balance. How do our doctors fix it? The birth control pill. They fix every hormone problem with the birth control pill. And I had probably about 50 phone calls this afternoon from women who watched Dr. Oz today. And on Dr. Oz, they said every woman should take a low-dose birth control pill to protect her from ovarian cancer. And I had phone call after phone call saying, did you hear that? And I said, yes. Unfortunately, they did not tell women that taking the birth control pill increased their risk of cervical cancer, breast cancer, heart attacks, and stroke. So it was a very sad Dr. Oz segment today, because I pray that women actually did not listen to him, because it's unfortunate that we have so many women on the pill. We have 1 in 6 women today that cannot get pregnant. We have a massive rate of infertility, and I think a lot of it is that we're putting 16-year-olds on the pill. They're not coming off it until they're 32, and they haven't ovulated in 16 years, and then they wonder why they can't get pregnant. And I think a lot of it has to do with that. Then we have tons of estrogen in our environment, and we are smart people. If you know that there's dangerous things in the foods that you eat and the products you're exposed to, you're going to get rid of them. So I'm going to tell you where all the estrogens are in your house. The biggest dose of estrogen you get every day is in your foods that are sprayed with pesticides. So buy organic foods. There's always this stupid debate about whether or not there's more nutrients in organic foods versus non-organic foods. Who cares? That's not the topic. The topic is whether or not you're getting doused with pesticides every time you eat your salad. And that's really the question you need to ask yourself, because pesticides fit right into your estrogen receptor, just like estrogen's made by the body. Dark hair dyes, they all contain phenylenediamine, and now that we have to legally label what's in cosmetics, you can go read it. It's a highly estrogenic compound. Think about what you do every day. You get out of bed, you jump in the shower, use shampoo, conditioner, gels, scrubs, shaving creams. You get out of the shower, you don't want a wrinkle, so you coat yourself from head to toe with cream. You put cream on your face, foundation, blush, mascara, eyeliner, eyeshadow. You spritz, mousse, gel your hair. You coat your armpits with deodorant, and you spray on your perfume. By the time you leave the bathroom in the morning, you are totally toxic. And the scary thing is, most of that stuff is loaded with parabens, which are highly estrogenic. They did one study where they took 20 women who had breast tumors, all breast cancer, and they tested them for things like parabens and other chemicals found in cosmetics. 18 of the 20 tumors were loaded with parabens. So you should be aware of that when you're slathering your skin with all these toxic things. And here at Nature's Fair, they have a lovely natural cosmetics section in the back, and I really recommend you go take a look. All plastics, we heard about the BPA in the baby bottles, but that was only a small amount of estrogenic compounds found in plastics. There are dozens. Never heat in plastic. Never drink out of your water bottle after it sits in the car. The code name for farmed fish is Atlantic salmon, and anybody who lives in BC should never buy it anyways because of the environmental disaster that is happening off our coast with all this farmed fish. So those great big cheap salmon you see at Costco, don't buy them. We need to boycott that, and then we won't have such a terrible situation here off the coast. Coffee raises estradiol, not a good thing. Alcohol raises estradiol, also not a good thing. And soy products raise estradiol dramatically. They had women drink 1 8-ounce glass of soy milk and discovered that it caused her estradiol to go up 380%. That is not a positive thing. Soy is terrible for men because it causes them to be feminized. And for women, it is disrupting our hormones and it contributes to infertility. So do not eat soy products. And I'm not talking about soy sauce, which is a condiment. That's not a problem. It's all the soy flour, soy milk, edamame beans that people are consuming en masse. What happens when you have too much estrogen? This is a very important question because most of what we have as female hormone problems are associated with too much estrogen. The drug companies really spent a lot of time and money teaching us we were deficient in estrogen, and that's just because they wanted to sell you Premarin. But the sad fact is we're seriously estrogen overloaded. And when you have too much estrogen, your thyroid goes low and you develop low thyroid. You get fat. You get that belly fat around the middle, which is also associated with too much estrogen. Estrogen's job is to make things grow. So you end up with breast lumps, ovarian cysts, uterine fibroids, endometriosis, a thick uterine lining, and the list goes on. Polyps, fibroids, all of these things that women are suffering with, we call them estrogen-dominant conditions. As well, when women have too much estrogen, they get terrible PMS and tons of cellulite as well. We also get acne. So for those of you who've known me for a long time, you know that 10 years ago I developed uterine fibroids, which caused terrible heavy flooding periods. I was basically chained to my house. I could never do a talk like this at that time of the month. And so I went and had an ultrasound. I saw a gynecologist, and she said to me, you know, Lorna, you've had all your kids. Let's just take it all out. They had diagnosed me with uterine fibroids. And so I said, well, I really would like to go to the grave with my uterus intact as long as I don't have cancer. She says, well, the second option is we can give you lots of estradiol to thicken your uterine lining, and then we can microwave it off. It's called microwave ablation. And I said, no, I can't have that because they have to give you lots of estradiol, and I have a family history of breast cancer. So she went, oh, yeah. So I asked her, you know, why are all these women developing all these abnormal cell growths? And she said, we don't know. So I left her office on a mission to shrink my fibroids and get my periods back to normal so I could leave my house again. And through that, I developed a product called Smart. And Smart contains indole-3-carbinol, DIM, deglucarate, sulforaphane, things that have been clinically researched to stop abnormal cell growth, which the fibroids are, even though they don't become cancerous most often, and to normalize my estrogen to progesterone ratio, because I learned that my estrogen was super high and my progesterone was too low. I started taking 4 capsules of Smart a day. Within 2 months, I could leave my house again because my periods were normal. A year later, I went back to the same gynecologist and had an ultrasound. My fibroids had shrunk by 12%. I kept taking 4 capsules a day, And by year 4, my fibroids had shrunk by 39%. Do you think at any point my gynecologist asked me what I was doing? No. She would have rather made the money off the hysterectomy, sadly enough. So if you have any kind of period problem, you need to go on Smart. Smart also stops breast lumps. So if you get fibrocystic lumpy breasts, it also stops them from growing. If you're prone to ovarian cysts, Smart also works to stop ovarian cysts from recurring, and it gets rid of PMS. What about all these teenagers with acne? We have so many 14-year-olds on the pill today to treat hormonal acne, which is just such a sad situation. What's going on with acne is when you go to ovulate, because of all the environmental hormones, the egg is not secreted. But instead, tons of male hormones are secreted, which cause terrible acne. And so the doctor gives the birth control pill to stop you from ovulating altogether. Not a good thing. Smart gets you ovulating properly, and the acne disappears. And it takes about 1 to 2 full menstrual cycles for this to start happening. Smart also works for boys' acne as well to keep their testosterone in check. One of the things we know about acne in men is that they have tons of testosterone as teenagers, and most moms don't want to know this, but as soon as they start having regular sex, their acne disappears because their testosterone levels go back to normal. So Smart works exceptionally well for this. Also, we have an epidemic of HPV. HPV is the virus that causes warts. It's implicated in cervical cancer. In this room, at this moment, 50% of us have HPV. Why is it that every woman who gets HPV does not develop cervical cancer? Well, HPV is brilliant. It needs a cancer-causing form of estrogen to be present in your body in order to make cervical cancer happen. We know from Rocky Mountain Labs in Calgary that when women take Smart, they cannot produce that cancer-causing estrogen. It's called 16-hydroxyestrone, and as such, HPV becomes harmless. Women on the birth control pill produce tons of 16-hydroxyestrone. So if you're in the room and you're on the pill, you need to start taking Smart along with your birth control pill immediately. Also, women who are swallowing estrogen replacement therapy in the form of HRT also produce tons of 16-hydroxyestrone. So if you're on any oral estrogen, you should be taking Smart today to protect you. And interestingly enough, they've done research using the ingredients in Smart to reverse abnormal pap smears. So if you're a woman who keeps getting abnormal paps, then you need to go on Smart as well. The highest death rate for cervical cancer is in women over the age of 50. That is because women think after they're 50, they don't have to go and have an annual pap smear anymore. But as long as you have a cervix, you need to go and have an annual pap smear because they save lives, because then you can go on Smart to reverse your abnormal pap. So I put together some different protocols because people always ask me at the end, how many do I take? I have this problem. So if you've got heavy periods, you would take 4 Smart a day and 1 bone booster. Our bone booster product contains vitamin K2, MK7, which tones the inside of the uterus and stops you from having these flooding periods. That you'd take every day. So bone booster and Smart. And then on the first day of bleeding, you would take 20 drops of shepherd's purse tincture every few hours while you're awake. And this should squelch your abnormal bleeding. If you're one of those women who gets periods twice a month or the 3-week period, then you want to follow this every single day. Acne. If you have acne, it's 4 to 6 capsules a day. When you find the right dose, the acne goes into remission. Polycystic ovarian syndrome. This is a terrible condition. We see a lot of it today because our kids are so overweight. And it is a condition of pre-diabetes and lots of male hormones. These girls generally have greasy hair. They have acne, male facial hair growth. They often get big in the butt and the hips, and they also become infertile. And PCOS is a terrible condition, and we take 4 capsules of Esther Smart and 1 Glucose Smart. Fibroids. If you have uterine fibroids like I did, you take 4 capsules of Esther Smart. In the A to Z book, which is free tonight, that particular book has all the protocols for every single condition from acne to menopause to osteoporosis, breast cancer, and all of it. If you have abnormal pap smears, you take 4 to 6 Esther Smart a day. We also have a type of Esther Smart called Esther Smart Plus, and this contains Vitex. We use this for women who have the kind of PMS where they don't even like themselves. And we also use Esther Smart Plus for women trying to get pregnant. It's really our fertility formula, and we have hundreds, maybe thousands of baby pictures now in our office from women who were able to get pregnant and stay pregnant using our nutrients. Breast cancer on Tamoxifen. We have a lot of women who went on Tamoxifen and for many reasons couldn't stay on it when they had their breast cancer. And so we have several oncologists here in the Lower Mainland who are using Esther Smart instead of Tamoxifen in women with estrogen receptor positive breast cancer. There is no estrogen in Esther Smart. It's always a question I get. Estrogen is a drug, and it is prescribed by our doctors. Esther Smart keeps your estrogen to progesterone ratio balanced. It also keeps your testosterone in the normal range. In 2008, the Canadian Cancer Society sent out a warning about milk thistle. And they were warning women who had breast cancer not to take it because they found it proliferated breast cancer cells. Then last year they did a study in women who were taking milk thistle every day and discovered it elevated prolactin levels, causing sore breasts and swollen breasts. And so I think this is a situation where we should not be taking milk thistle in a supplement that we take every day. A lot of multivitamins will have milk thistle in it, and that's not how milk thistle should be used. Milk thistle is a liver cleansing herb. It should be used for 7 to 14 days at the max. And if you have breast cancer, you shouldn't touch it. And you need to go home tonight and read your supplements to make sure that nothing you're taking on a daily basis contains milk thistle. It's sort of like the soy issue. You know, when soy first came out, they told everybody it was great, we should eat lots of soy. Everybody except for me. I have never told anyone soy products are healthy. But at the beginning, they told everyone soy was great. And now, because we've got lots of research in North American women, they're saying, well, maybe it's not so great, and maybe it's associated with infertility and increased breast cancer rates. We have lots of different nutritional deficiencies that cause all kinds of health concerns. And, you know, often people will say to me, well, what do you think the most important supplement to take is? A multivitamin with minerals. And it should be taken from the time you stop breastfeeding. So if you're breastfeeding your baby till they're a year old, they should then go on a multivitamin and stay on it until they die. And the reason is because you need to eat 5 cups of vegetables a day in order just to get basic vitamins and minerals. Nobody does that. We all eat about two vegetables, that is, and one of them is potato. So, and that doesn't even count in regards to the nutrient content you need. And just to give you an example, zinc, magnesium, 300 reactions in your body need zinc. 300 reactions need magnesium. What if you didn't eat it today? You better be taking a great multivitamin with minerals. One of the really important nutritional deficiencies is iron. And, you know, we used to think that the only people who needed iron were women who had periods. But today, a new study was done last year in Canada, and they looked at iron consumption among men, women, and children and the elderly. And they discovered that we should be getting 20 milligrams of iron from our diet every day. We are getting 8. And as a result, most of us are becoming deficient. Even men are becoming deficient. The elderly are deficient, and so are our kids. And I can tell you, after the E. coli scare that just happened, a lot of people are not eating red meat. And the main sources of iron in our diet are red meat and egg yolks. And people are buying those egg white things, which I think are just awful, instead of eating real, free-run, organic eggs. So there's a lot of people with iron deficiency. I'll tell you what the symptoms are. Fatigue. You're tired all the time. You just feel pooped. Dark circles under your eyes. Peeling fingernails. You walk 3 stairs and you're huffing and puffing when you get to the top. You cannot exercise. There's no way. In kids, they do not get very tall, and they also do terribly at school. They have low test scores. In the elderly, they can't think straight. They have cognitive problems and memory decline. And the number one reason for hair loss in women is low iron. The number one reason. So tonight, I hope when you came in, you tried all the samples that Jackie and Elisa had set up for you. We have a phenomenal iron supplement. It tastes like Werther's candy. It does not constipate. And the greatest thing about it is it raises ferritin, your iron storage, very, very quickly. It raises ferritin and hemoglobin much better than any doctor-prescribed iron. It does not cause any stomach upset. You can take it with drugs, and you can take it with any nutrient you wish. So if you didn't try it when you came in, make sure you try it on the way out, because it truly is like dessert. We also have it in capsules for people who don't like the Werther's candy effect. But it's quite yummy. Magnesium deficiency. This is another very common deficiency in men and women today and our kids. And when you have a magnesium deficiency, you get twitchy eyelids, restless legs, heart palpitations, high blood pressure, leg cramps. So if you're getting those terrible calf cramps, that's an early sign of magnesium deficiency. People with fibromyalgia and arthritis are deficient as well. People who get migraines and kids with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder are also magnesium deficient. Most of the magnesium supplements that are sold in pharmacies and health food stores are laxatives. They're designed to suck water into your colon to flush everything out. That would be something like magnesium citrate. Magnesium bisglycinate, on the other hand, actually gets into your cellular membranes, and it deals with all of the health issues that you have. So you always want to look for a magnesium supplement that contains magnesium bisglycinate. Our Mag Smart, which we tried tonight for you to try, is a lemon lime flavored drink. It's a powder that you put in water or orange juice, and it contains magnesium bisglycinate, taurine. You know, the reason why women and men get those big bags under their eyes is because they're taurine deficient. Mag Smart also contains malic acid, which is for muscle pain and joint pain, and also some glutamine to heal your digestive tract. This is a real superstar magnesium supplement, and you would take a scoop at bedtime to help you sleep, and you would put a scoop in your water bottle. All of my grandsons, before they go to school in the morning, they get a scoop of Mag Smart in their water bottle to keep them calm and focused when they go to school. And if you are a coffee drinker, you better take magnesium bisglycinate, because every time you drink coffee, you lose magnesium from the body. And this is why we get more leg cramps and twitchy eyelids and heart palpitations from caffeine. You know, I'm going to talk about menopause and thyroid and the adrenals, but the interesting thing is a lot of the symptoms that we think are menopause symptoms have nothing to do with menopause. For example, a woman who's getting regular periods who starts having night sweats, that is a symptom of low thyroid. Women who and men who fall asleep fine but wake up several hours later wide awake and lie like that till 3 or 4 in the morning, that is a classic sign of adrenal exhaustion. So I put this chart together to show you all the symptoms of menopause: memory loss, brain fog, insomnia, night sweats, mood swings, vaginal dryness, urinary incontinence, things like water retention, hot flashes, anxiety, panic attacks, anger, the list is long. Let's pray you never get all those symptoms or you have to be committed. But if you go across the line, you'll see a lot of those symptoms have to do with what we call the hormone triangle: your liver, your adrenals, and your thyroid, and particularly the thyroid. Women who have the never-ending menopause, you know, the aunt who comes to Christmas dinner 10 years later who's still sweating profusely, we all have one of those. That is somebody who has low thyroid that is yet to be diagnosed. Menopause should only last at the maximum 18 months. And the women in the room who are going, I've been having hot flashes for 7 years. That's because your adrenals and your thyroid are not working properly, and we need to fix them. So when we look at the thyroid, this picture shows you your thyroid is involved in everything. Your thyroid determines if you're going to be depressed or happy. Your thyroid determines your heart rate. Your thyroid determines your temperature, whether you're going to be cold or hot. Your thyroid also determines if you're going to get pregnant and stay pregnant. So that's a very important thing for women who are trying to get pregnant in the room. Your thyroid is involved in whether or not you're going to have high cholesterol or low cholesterol. And so anytime you have high cholesterol, they need to check your thyroid as well. So your thyroid is like the master conductor of everything in the body. It determines if you're going to be fat or skinny. And that's because it determines how quickly food moves through your system. So you develop constipation when you've got low thyroid. So the symptoms of low thyroid: a third of your eyebrows are gone and you know you didn't pluck them out. Your hair is thinning. You're freezing cold all the time. You're constipated. Your skin is dry. You are aging faster than your friends. You feel blah. You just have no energy. You have no sex drive. You would rather be taking out the garbage. I mean, and as you can see, the list is very, very long. Never-ending menopause symptoms is another sign of low thyroid that's not being treated properly. The biggest problem we have with thyroid is that our blood test, called the TSH, is inadequate. The range of normal in BC is 0.5 to 5.5. In order to be diagnosed with low thyroid, you have to be over 5.5. But we know anybody who has a TSH above 2 will have symptoms. So you can never let your doctor tell you your tests are normal. You need to get copies of your blood tests. And now, of course, if you walk in a lab and say, I want a copy, they give you a little code, and tomorrow you'll be able to go look it up faster than your doctor. So you want copies of your blood tests, and you start your own home health medical file. And you want your TSH to be below 2. That is the magic number. So I'm going to say it again, below 2. Don't tell me it's normal, because I'll always say, what's the number? It has to be below 2. Anyone with a TSH above 2 is going to have symptoms. By the time your thyroid gets bad enough for the doctor to give you drugs, you've packed on 40 pounds, you're depressed, you just feel awful, you're freezing cold all the time, and the symptoms are all there. So what do you do? Because your doctor is not going to give you drugs until you're over 5.5. So we have Thyroid Smart, which Health Canada has approved for the improvement of low thyroid, to support your thyroid, and for the conversion of T4 to T3, which is the most important thing. Thyroid Smart is so safe, you could eat bottlefuls of it and never cause your thyroid to go overactive, and it works fast, fast, fast. You take 2 capsules at breakfast. What if you're in the room and you're already on thyroid medication? And when you first went on the medication, you felt pretty good. And then you noticed over time your symptoms started to come back. And the reason is most people are taking Synthroid or levothyroxine, which is T4 thyroid hormone. And after a while, you start to lose the ability to convert T4 to T3, and as such, your symptoms come back. What did the doctor do? Increase the dose. Did it work? No. What we need to do for you is you stay on your thyroid medication. You take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, and then you take 2 Thyroid Smart at breakfast to get you converting your T4 to T3, and then you'll start to feel really good. We have lots of women who use Thyroid Smart along with their thyroid medication and are able to get their thyroid medication to the lowest possible dose out there, which is what we really want to have happen. You also want to eat protein for breakfast, so an egg, a chicken breast, a protein shake, protein powder in yogurt. No longer are you going to have fruit, skim milk, cereal, and toast, which is the breakfast of an overweight woman. You want to start the day with protein, 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 because it jump-starts your fat-burning furnace, gives your thyroid what it needs, and gives you energy. So that's a big shift for a lot of people, because if you're in love with oatmeal, you've got to put protein powder in your oatmeal. My favorite protein powder is Omega Nutrition Pumpkin Protein. So I'll say it again. Omega Nutrition Pumpkin Protein. It is inexpensive. I think it's like $20 a bottle. It's certified organic, and it's vegetarian, and it is bland tasting. And that's important because you want to be able to put it in food and not have it taste awful. I can't believe how many people buy protein powders and hate the taste and never take them. So, pumpkin protein powder by Omega Nutrition. Then the adrenals. Remember at the beginning I said you better love your adrenals? You better love your adrenals because they are your backup hormone system. They help you deal with stress. And they help you deal with stress every single day. The symptoms of adrenal exhaustion, you fall asleep fine, but you wake up several hours later wide awake and can't fall back to sleep. You have salt cravings. You would rather have the salt shaker than the popcorn. You have to have caffeine to get going, and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you feel that big slump where you really need coffee, cookies, something to get you going again. Everything bugs you. All of a sudden, really stupid little things like the way your husband chews food at dinner is like just totally annoying. Tiny things that really shouldn't bug you become a big deal. Crying jags, belly fat, weight gain. These are all signs of adrenal exhaustion. And the adrenals and the thyroid are directly linked. So if your adrenals become tired, your thyroid goes low. We can often bring the adrenals back up, but the thyroid stays low. So if you're going like the Duracell bunny during your 20s, 30s, and 40s, when you hit 50 and need those adrenals to kick in and make your hormones for you, you may be sadly affected because of all the stress you've been under when you were younger. This morning on Breakfast TV, I did a show on stress, and we had our stress test posted on the website, which you can go and take at hormonehelp.com. And we were talking about all the things we can do to reduce stress. Smile. That is the number one thing you can do. If you walk around smiling all day, your endorphins go up, your happy hormones are secreted, and that's important because it helps you deal with stress. Say no. I think we're doing too much. You know, I think about when my kids were little and I'd spend weeks making Halloween costumes. And, you know, I was the mom who made those cookies that, you know, every little kid had a gingerbread cookie, a girl and a boy with the kid's name on it. How crazy is that? My kids don't even remember any of that stuff. And yet I stayed up night after night making all these great things because I was super mom. I was tired, you know, and I think that a lot of us are just doing far too much. And as a result, our adrenals become exhausted, and then the body just says no. So a lot of what we do, we don't need to do, and we just simply need to say no to. And lots of deep breathing, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Everybody do it. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Do it when you're driving because that will really help de-stress you. We also have nutrients because nobody's going to listen to me about de-stressing. And so they would rather take a pill. The funny thing is, I had someone the other day say to me, I think you should give a talk on food. I said, I used to. When I first started lecturing, I was so, you know, thrilled with my nutrition degree that I wanted to teach everybody that all they could do is just eat great food and all their diseases would disappear. But people don't want to change the way they eat. They want to keep doing all the bad things they do every single day and take a pill and fix it all. That's really what we want to do. The only time people change the way they eat or their lifestyle is when they get cancer and heart disease, and they might die. then they will change. And funny thing is, once the cancer goes away, they often go back to all the bad things that they used to do beforehand. So Adrenal Smart is our adrenal support nutrient. It works very fast. It contains rhodiola, suma, schisandra berries, and ashwagandha, and it is outstanding for helping you deal with stress. You can take it every day, you can take it intermittently, you can take it only at times of stress. But if you are a woman having menopause symptoms and you're in menopause, you definitely need to take Adrenal Smart every day. People with low thyroid also need to take Adrenal Smart along with their thyroid nutrients to support the adrenals and the thyroid. Better yet, de-stress your life, which is very, very important. Hormone replacement therapy. We're going to talk about specifically what to do for menopause right now. Then we're going to talk about beautiful skin, and then we're going to talk about weight loss, and then I'll take your questions. So back in 2002, the Women's Health Initiative study was halted. This was a huge clinical trial with over 15,000 women. They were trying to prove that synthetic Premarin and Provera were safe. And at the 5-year mark, they halted the trial, and it was front page news saying that Premarin and Provera caused a 26% increase in invasive breast cancer, a 41% increase in strokes, a 29% increase in heart attack, double the rates of Alzheimer's, and they also found it caused hearing loss, our breasts to become so dense that they could not read breast cancer on a mammogram, and women have died. Now, we have to put this into perspective. Women are still dying to treat their hot flashes and night sweats because Premarin and Provera are still being prescribed today. So women took drugs to stop their hot flashes that killed them. And the nice thing about the health food store is that we have a health food store full of nutrients that can stop all these symptoms of menopause without killing you. So there's lots and lots of opportunities. Today I was doing a radio show and the host said, do people, can we actually treat all the symptoms of menopause using nutrients? And I said, yes. 80% of women can use diet, lifestyle, and nutritional supplements to stop their hot flashes and night sweats. About 20% of women will need diet, lifestyle, nutritional supplements, and a little bit of bioidentical hormones to get through that transition period. But we don't have to take drugs that kill us. And after the study was over, women threw their hormones in the garbage. Doctors stopped prescribing it. Unfortunately, not all doctors, but a lot of doctors. And some really bad things happened. So this is out of the Canadian Medical Association Journal. And if you look at the blue line, that's the number of prescriptions written for antidepressants. Oh, the number of prescriptions written for hormone replacement therapy. The yellow line is the number of prescriptions written for antidepressants. So what happened is we see a decline in the number of prescriptions written for hormone replacement therapy, but our doctors didn't know what to do for us, so they started treating menopause as if it is a psychiatric disorder and giving us lots of antidepressants. Now, the sad thing about this is most of the antidepressants can cause up to a 60-pound weight gain in a matter of months. So if you weren't depressed before you went on it, you certainly would be afterwards. And they are very, very hard to come off. You have to wean off them slowly. And if you want to come off your antidepressants, we have a product called Smile, which is an enteric-coated 5-HTP, and you get lower and lower doses of your antidepressant from your doctor while you are taking Smile. Smile is for anxiety and panic attacks, social phobia, depression, mood swings, and just that crazy mood thing that happens to women during menopause. A lot of women just lose it, and not every woman gets hot flashes and night sweats. Some women get panic attacks, anxiety, and massive mood swings and anger outbursts when they go through menopause. You would need Smile. So what do we do for menopause? Well, there's 50 different ways to treat menopause. As different as every woman is in this room, there is a different treatment for you. So I'm here to tell you that you do not have to suffer with any menopause symptoms at all. And so the first thing we do is we eat more broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, and kale. That's one of the most important things. Well, everyone should be eating those vegetables. And I know women are looking at the second line saying, is she crazy? You know, I'm all sweaty and I'm having hot flashes. Like, do I really feel like having sex? But we have these really nice men who come out and brave all this estrogen, and we have to give them some hope. But sadly, guys, I have to tell you, the research was clear. You didn't have to have sex. You just had to have 2 orgasms a week. And it caused less thinning of the vaginal wall, less prolapsed uterus, less prolapsed bladder, and the women were happier. The other thing you should know is that all those structures down there, your vagina, that's a structure. It's like, think about it as a wall that's holding everything in place. And you have to exercise those muscles. So we need to do Kegel exercises all the time. Kegels are when you squeeze all those muscles down there and release. Squeeze them all and release. So everybody Kegel. The great thing about Kegling is nobody knows. So do it again. And do it while you're driving in the car, because you don't want your uterus to fall into your vagina, and you don't want your bladder to fall in there either. And remember, it's a structure and you've got to exercise it. So Kegel. Make sure your TSH is below 2. I cannot stress this enough. So you've got to read that number. Drink 5 glasses of cold water a day. They found it cut hot flashes by 25%. They found walking 30 minutes a day briskly, like get out there and get your arms going, cut your hot flashes in half. This is really cheap. Water, walking, broccoli, sex. Doesn't cost you a thing. And, I always have people in my lectures say, well, how long are these nutrients going to take to work? Or the one I love the best is, I'm going to buy this, but when can I come off? Right? It's all about what are you going to do about your lifestyle. If you eat better, de-stress, walk a little bit, then you're going to really do a lot of good things for your body, and the nutrients will work faster and better. So what nutrients do you take when you're in menopause? If you are having hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, and vaginal dryness, you need MenoSmart Plus. You take 2 at breakfast and 2 at bedtime. And MenoSmart Plus contains 300 milligrams of sage, which is outstanding for night sweats as well. And we have a personal lubricant called Love. And Love is a personal lubricant that feels just like your vaginal secretions. It does not stain panties. It's pH perfect. It even tastes good. And you need to take Adrenal Smart, 2 capsules at lunchtime. So 2 MenoSmart Plus at breakfast, 2 Adrenal Smart at lunch, and 2 MenoSmart Plus at bedtime for those hot flashes in the middle of the night. If you're on bioidentical hormones and you're still getting symptoms, then you would add MenoSmart Plus morning and night and take the Adrenal Smart. And for all women, all ages, Love, our personal lubricant, is great for painful intercourse and also for vaginal dryness. You need a multivitamin with minerals. At menopause, it's extremely important. So I hope you tried our powder one that you put in juice, water, shakes, and foods. I actually put our powdered multivitamin in my organic yogurt in the morning, then put some nuts and seeds on top and a banana along with my Omega Nutrition pumpkin protein, and that's my breakfast. So it's fantastic if you add the multivitamin to food. I mix it in the spaghetti sauce so my kids don't know they're eating it. Insomnia is a terrible concern, and I'll tell you how bad it is. Chronic insomnia causes high blood pressure, and it is also linked to increased rates of Alzheimer's disease. So if you don't sleep, and you're here in this talk to find out about sleep, then that's all you care about tonight, is to find out how to sleep. So start writing, because you may need everything. So there are many kinds of insomnia. There's the kind of insomnia where you fall asleep fine, but you wake up several hours later. That you will need Adrenal Smart, and you take 2 at lunchtime to get your nighttime cortisol levels to come down so that you can sleep throughout the night. Then we have people that do not have enough melatonin. And that's probably because your bedroom is not pitch black. And I mean pitch black. We have women are notorious for night lights on and the hall light on and the bathroom light on with a crack so we can navigate to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Or maybe the street lights are coming in your window. You know, hammer a sleeping bag over your bedroom window. Shut all the lights off. It should be so dark that you can't even see your hand in front of your face. Then your brain will secrete melatonin. Melatonin is the safest hormone out there. I've been taking it every night since I was 20, and I take it for its breast cancer prevention aspect, but it knocks you out and keeps you asleep. And our Sleep Smart contains 3 milligrams of melatonin along with sleep herbs like passion flower and valerian to knock you out and keep you asleep. So you would take 1 Sleep Smart at bedtime. Then there are people who have restlessness. You get into bed and everything's buzzing. You know, it feels like your legs are going. You've got bugs crawling on you. You can't stop thinking. You need Mag Smart, 1 scoop at bedtime. And then for some people, they're so low in progesterone they can't sleep. And in that case, we use a prescription drug. It's a bioidentical hormone. It's called Prometrium. And you take 100 to 200 milligrams at bedtime. Always start with the lower dose and work your way out. Some people may only need Sleep Smart. Some people may only need Adrenal Smart. Some people will do great with Mag Smart. If you don't sleep and you've never slept, you need all of them. So write them all down. No caffeine after lunchtime, and do not exercise at night. That is very important for women because your cortisol levels stay high and then you can't sleep. And this slide I only have up here because we've already talked about Love, our personal lubricant, because there's a prescription on here for bioidentical estrogen. The only safe estrogen to take is Estradiol, Estriol. And in our little menopause booklet that Jackie has here tonight, on one of the pages, the Estradiol prescription is. So if you want to pick up that little menopause booklet, you'll find it. Estriol is the estrogen produced by your body when you're pregnant to protect your baby against your bad estrogens. Estriol is so safe, they've done 18 clinical trials for wrinkles. It is a prescription drug. Most doctors want to prescribe Vagifem, Estradiol, or Premarin cream. Those contain estradiol. The D in estradiol means danger, causes cancer, increased uterine lining, and higher risk of endometrial and breast cancer. So if you're on Vagifem or Premarin cream or estradiol cream vaginally, you want to switch to Estriol. And the prescription is up there. In my Smart Woman's Guide to Hormones book, all the prescriptions are in the book because a lot of our doctors don't know how to write prescriptions for bioidentical hormones. And then you would also want to use our Love personal lubricant along with it. Bad things happen to our skin. Last night I was giving a talk on beautiful skin, and the whole hour was all about skin health because I'm writing a new book called Beautiful Skin Begins Within, which will be out in a couple of weeks. So in the first 5 years after menopause, we lose 30% of our collagen. When babies are born, they are 90% collagen. That's why they have this beautiful, smooth skin. Collagen is not only important for beautiful skin, but collagen is also the glue that makes your bones strong. So if you lose 30% of your collagen in the first few years after menopause, you lose 30% of your bone strength as well. So although we care about how our face looks, it has a negative effect on bone also. The second bad thing that happens at menopause is we no longer can make GLA from our food. GLA is a very special fatty acid that makes our skin glow. And that's the reason why after menopause our skin gets so dry and dull and flat looking, is because we can't make GLA from our food. You cannot get GLA from fish oil. You cannot get GLA from flaxseed oil. You get GLA from borage seed oil, and it contains about 24% GLA. So this is my little Lorna's Beautiful Skin program, and you can write it down if you wish. Collagen Plus, 10 drops a day. I'm going to tell you about each one of these things. GLA skin oil. I love the liquid because you can eat lots of it and you can also apply it topically to the skin. Active collagen, which is a superstar for wrinkle treatments. And then we have a topical Celadrin cream, a 10% skin therapy cream, and a great multivitamin with minerals. So Collagen Plus. I'll go back and I'll talk about Collagen Plus while you're writing. So Collagen Plus is a nutritional supplement that gets your body making collagen. And it is a vegetarian formula, so if you're a vegetarian, you'll love it. Collagen Plus has lots of research for increased bone density, so a 2% increase in hip strength and lumbar spine after 1 year of taking 10 drops a day. Plus, they did research for strong, hard nails, thick, shiny hair that doesn't break, and wrinkle prevention. That's because all of these things are associated with enhanced collagen production. So you would take 10 drops a day of Collagen Plus. I think Collagen Plus is the greatest bone nutrient out there. So if you want to prevent osteoporosis and treat osteoporosis, start it today. My daughters took Collagen Plus while they were pregnant to stop stretch marks. And so my granddaughters got it while they were pregnant, so did my grandsons. And my little granddaughters have been on it since they were born because we're doing an experiment to see if we keep collagen levels nice and high, if we'll be able to prevent osteoporosis entirely and stop wrinkling of the skin. GLA from borage oil, and I love GLA. It makes your skin glow. It keeps that moisture in your skin. It gets wrinkles to disappear. The earliest warning sign that you're GLA deficient is babies with cradle cap. That is the earliest warning sign. Then kids with eczema, and then eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis, and rosacea. Anyone who has any of the skin disorders is GLA deficient. And so we have GLA in two forms, in a liquid, and we also have it in capsules. But I love the GLA skin oil from borage because you can drink lots of it and you can apply it to the skin. I use it as my night cream, and I also take about 2 tablespoons a day, 2 teaspoons to 2 tablespoons a day, depending on how my skin feels. But you cannot get it from fish oil. And actually, fish oils can make eczema and dermatitis and psoriasis worse. You really, really, really need the GLA. Active collagen is a marine collagen. You will notice that most of the collagen supplements that are sold on the market today, the manufacturers will not even tell you what the source is. And the reason they won't tell you where it comes from on their box is because they come from pig parts, boiled cowhide, bones, and other leftover parts from the cow. And that's why they won't write it on the label. This collagen is from France, and they've done great clinical research using a marine elastin and collagen polypeptide formula to reduce the depth of deep wrinkles. So active collagen, they gave 2,000 milligrams a day to women for an 84-day study. At day 28, the crow's feet wrinkles in the sides of the eyes had reduced by 20 to 40% in depth. That is dramatic. As a result of that, Health Canada has allowed us to put on the label for the reduction of the depth of deep wrinkles. Nothing says that. It always says fine lines and wrinkles, which you know it doesn't work. This works. By day 84, that crepey skin, you get that at the top of your arms and on your eyelids when you put your eyeshadow on. It just feels like crepe paper. By day 84, the crepey skin was disappearing, and vaginal dryness also improved because that's skin also. The effects get better and better and better, and the moisture content in the skin improves as well because we're rebuilding skin collagen. This is my bone building program. If you have osteoporosis or never want to get osteoporosis, we have 1 in 4 women today with osteoporosis and 1 in 8 men. So it's a problem for men as well. You need a great multivitamin with minerals with the right types of calcium. You want to have calcium aspartate, glycinate, and citrate, which we have in our Multi-Smart. You do not want to take gluconates and carbonates. They are very ineffective forms of calcium. And there's new research showing that calcium does not build bone. that it actually, if you're taking the wrong kinds of calcium, ends up in your breasts as breast calcifications and in your arteries as hardening of the arteries. Plus, most people are taking too much. And if you've already got osteoporosis, you know this because you're faithfully taking your calcium and you're still losing bone every year. So you want to take 500 milligrams of calcium along with magnesium and vitamin D and all the other things. Our bone booster contains vitamin K2, MK7, and vitamin D3 to keep the bone building minerals in your bones. And then you want to take 10 drops of collagen plus a day. That would be for bones if you want to do a bone program. Skin tags are the earliest warning sign you have diabetes. Research has shown that 4 skin tags or more are a sign of prediabetes. And we have all the clinical studies on our website under Glucose Smart if you want to go read them, because this always shocks people. So if you've already got skin tags, those are those little white fleshy tags, and you've got 4 or more, you need to change your diet, eat protein, green vegetables, and good healthy fats to get your blood sugar and insulin back into the normal range. Reduce alcohol intake. That's another important factor. For those of us who like to have that glass of wine, we have to have a Glucose Smart with every glass of wine that we drink to keep our blood sugar and insulin balanced. Glucose Smart is a nutrient that has over 30 clinical trials. They've been researching it for 20 years. The reason why I got very excited about this is because the studies showed it got rid of belly fat. We have lots of good weight loss products, but this one targets specifically belly fat. And we had a retailer, health food store retailer in Nova Scotia who was quite overweight, who went on Glucose Smart, and she lost weight. But the key factor was about 6 months in, she was standing there rubbing her neck. She had hundreds of skin tags, and they all rubbed off in her hand. That's because she finally got her blood sugar and insulin balanced, and her weight came down, and those skin tags finally fell off. So Glucose Smart is an outstanding treatment for belly fat weight gain. And before you start taking it, measure your waist, your hips, and the top of your thighs, because you will lose weight. If you're under 165 pounds, you take 1 a day. If you're over 165 pounds, you take 2. And this is for men and for children as well. CLA is another great weight loss supplement, and we have a CLA with green tea extract. They just finished doing a study last year in women who are postmenopausal. So the hardest group of women to lose weight is those that are postmenopausal, and you know that already because you've probably been trying for a long time. And they gave women 8,000 milligrams of CLA. At the end of the 90 days, and this was with 0 diet change, they said eat, drink, and be merry. At the end of the 90 days, everybody lost on average 7 pounds. At Christmas time, they always do this study using CLA because in the month of December, which is coming up quickly, most of us gain 1 to 1.5 pounds. That's how we put on 10 pounds in 10 years. It's December. And so they take these groups of people. It's December, you know, because you start eating the Nanaimo bars and rum balls, and before you know it, it's like a pound, right? So they do this study every year, and they take one group and they give them CLA 5,000 milligrams a day, and they tell them eat, drink, and be merry. Then they have another group and they give them fake pills and they say eat, drink, and be merry. At the end of the 30 days, and this study they do every year, I love it. At the end of the 30 days, the group that took the CLA loses 1.5 to 2 pounds. And the group that took the fake pills gains 1 to 1.5 pounds. And they do it every single year. And I think to myself, why doesn't everybody just take CLA in the month of December? It would be a lot easier than trying to get rid of the 10, 15, 20 pounds, 20 years later. So the key factor with CLA is dosage. I had a woman in my talk in Edmonton a few days ago, and she said, I've tried CLA. It doesn't work. I said, how many did you take? She said 2. I said, well, 2 isn't going to work. It says very clearly on the bottle, 5 to 8 capsules. If you take 2, it's not going to work. In all the studies, they found you had to take 5,000 to 8,000 milligrams of CLA a day in order to have weight loss. This is my last slide. And in February, my mother developed dementia, quite severe. And so as a result, I started researching memory loss, dementia, how to boost memory, recovery after stroke, improving test scores in kids, get rid of that brain fog that we develop at menopause as well. So Brain Smart was the culmination of that. I developed it to treat my mom and also myself because dementia runs in families, and it runs from mothers to daughters particularly. And we have today in this country, 15% of those at age 65 have Alzheimer's dementia. That is terrible. We need to do something about it. They have done tons of research using acetyl L-Carnitine and lipoic acid in Alzheimer's patients to improve memory and cognition and also improve the combativeness that happens in people who start to lose their memory. These ingredients have also been researched for stroke patients, even if you had a stroke 2 years ago, and also for improving test scores in university students, giving us lots and lots of energy as well. It's called Brain Smart. This is my website, hormonehelp.com. We have a new radio show that I do every Wednesday morning. You can call in and ask questions, or you can also listen to the past radio shows on the website. I've done one on the immune system this week. Last week was on memory decline and brain health. I did one on hormones and skin. So there's lots of them to listen to up there. You can just go listen to them on your computer as long as you have speakers on your computer. Tonight they're giving away an A to Z Woman's Guide to Vibrant Health with every 2 Lorna products that you buy. And they always have great prices, 2 or more. Oh, so 2 or more. I guess they don't want you to just keep buying 2. But anyways, go to the website. The girls are very helpful here. They have lots of education. And after we do the draw for the door prize, I'll answer your questions. So for those of you who would like to have your questions answered, just stick around.
Thank you so much, Lorna. That was a wonderful presentation. We're so lucky to have Lorna here with us this evening.